Let's open now the video that we want to analyze. Once it's open, we'll see the information of the video in this box. It is possible to analyze the video on a time basis or frame basis by switching the button in the video parameter box. Here we can also find z-top, z-bottom, and scale. They are nothing else than the limits of the image that we want to analyze. And scale, it just represents the number of pixels per millimeters of the experiment. The number polyfit indicates the number of seconds that we want to consider for a moving average of the spread rate. If we increase this number, we will obtain a smoother graph of the spread rate. Preview time is just used by the user to look at a specific frame. For example, if we want to look at the video at time 15 seconds, we can just type in 15 and then click on preview. So here we see on the right the original frame of the video considered between this line that corresponds to z-top and this line that corresponds to z-bottom. If we want to modify the location of these lines, we can simply change the parameters here. For example, 50 and 500. These numbers are measured in pixels starting from the top of the figure and going down. So z-top 50, it means it will be about here, and 500, it will be about here. We can check it again by clicking on preview. If we use the intensity tracking, the code will look at the luminance component and in particular at its intensity in this interval defined by z-top and z-bottom. Also, it will average the intensity along the vertical direction, and a 2D plot can be obtained here. Once we define a threshold for both the flame front and the frame trailing edge, defined by these boxes here, the code defines the flame as the region between those two intensity values. We can try to change it, for example, to 50, and clicking again on preview, we can see that this line has shifted backwards. Sometimes it might be hard to visualize the figures here, so we can just click on show figures and the full scale images will show up. After the values for the threshold intensities correspond to the flame leading edge and trailing edge, we can go ahead with the analysis. In this case, we forgot to put the scale that for this video is 15.7, and for example, if we want to run the analysis from 5 to 30 seconds, we can just indicate the numbers here and click on run analysis. When the analysis starts, we will see on the right the evolution in time of the flame, and in particular, we will see how well our tracking is working. The time interval between each frame corresponds to the polyfit value. So in this example, we used a polyfit of 1 second, so we will see the flame every second. Once the analysis is done, we will see on the right the results of leading edge, spread rate, and flame length versus time. It can happen then the spread rate is actually out of scale for this graph, for the second one. So we can modify the maximum value from the right box here. If we put, for example, 3 here and we run the analysis again, we'll obtain a graph with a longer y-axis. Instead of doing that, we can just change the number here and click on show figures. And in this way, the spread rate graph will have a maximum value of 3. So before running a second analysis, we can just check the value here to make sure that we can see the whole evolution of the spread rate. Besides the graphic results, we can also see the time considered and the flames analyzed and other parameters of the video resulting from the analysis in the analysis output box. It is also possible to compare different runs for the same experiment. By clicking on Store Data, this menu will activate. And here we can choose 3 slots of memories. If we select the box next to one slot and then we run the analysis, the code will save that slot and will show in the graphical results. If we want to run another case, for example changing the threshold value, we can select slot 2 and select this box as well, the second box. In this way we will see both results here, and click on Run Analysis again. And we will see in the comparison of the two graphs here, by deselecting these boxes or simply store data, the code will forget about those memory slots and will just run a normal analysis. Sometimes the flame might present a little bright spot that shifts the leading edge location forward and back again. In that case, the code will give us the flame location and will not allow the flame to go backward. So if we want to allow the code to do that, we need to remember to check allow reverse spread rate. These are the main functions of the flame image analyzer using intensity tracking. It is also possible to check the box at the threshold and put a value from 1 to 5 depending on the brightness that we want to track. Like 5 corresponds to the actual peak of intensity. It is also possible to export the data in an Excel file by clicking on Export Data here, or for example smooth the leading edge position versus time if there's a lot of noise by using this box here. And more details about each of the boxes shown in the user interface are available by clicking on the question marks in each box. Now we'll see the area tracking that is slightly different from the intensity tracking, but follows the same approach. With area tracking, instead of going from the RGB space to the luminance and chrominance, we focus our analysis on the colors. In particular, we have the red, green, and blue channels, and we can choose a value between 0 and 255 to determine the values that we want to filter from the pictures. To have a better idea, we can just click on Preview first. In this case, we haven't filtered anything, and again, we will see the original frame at the top of the user interface, whatever is left from the filtering in the second image, and then a black and white image representing the area that is calculated at the bottom. So in this case, we didn't really filter anything out, and we can try to put, for example, a minimum of the red channel of 100 and click on Preview. We can see that it didn't change much from the second image, but the third image shows that the area that is actually calculated is much smaller. In this way, we can filter the red area of the flame or a blue area or a specific point with specific colors. Also, sometimes the flame might have different regions corresponding to the same color filters, and we have the option to include the region that we want in a decreasing order by checking these boxes: region 1, 2, 3, and small. This simply means region 1 is the biggest one and region 2 and region 3 are a little smaller. By checking on the small checkbox, all the different points corresponding to the color filtering will show up as well. As for intensity tracking, area tracking can be used to follow the flame in time. Just by clicking on Track Area, we will see the evolution in time with the same time interval of the polyfit specified earlier, and we can check if the code is actually tracking the part of the flame that we want. Again, we can click on Show Figures or export the data at the end of the process in an Excel sheet. Area tracking is a little slower than intensity tracking because it has to analyze a lot of points, and at the end it will give us leading edge, spread rate, and flame area versus time. Again, by clicking on any of the question marks in each boxes, we will see different details about the specific box that we clicked on. For more details, you can refer to the PowerPoint that is available on the website.